morning.
Morning.
How are you in this second Sunday of Advent? I love Advent. You know, it's so busy. I don't know about you all, but all year round, I'm busy. Are you?
Yes.
Like, you think you can just do something spontaneously, and you cannot. This happened to me, I don't know, the local health food store a week or so ago put out a flyer, Marlene's. And they always have little classes, and they had a class that was on making homemade soap. And I thought, gosh, that sounds like fun. I could make soap. Of course, you could give it away as gifts. I always think of that. And 2 afternoon classes, I thought, well, that's manageable. Maybe you've had that experience. You know, you see something out in the world, oh, I'm going to do that. And then the Rolodex starts going in your head. It's like, okay, let's see, December 9th, what am I doing? Oh, yeah. And I can't do it, right? Doesn't that happen to you? And I find that especially in this Advent season, things get really ramped up, don't they? They get busy. There are parties, and there's definitely a lot of food going on. Yesterday, I went to meet this unknown part of my family. Like, it's an amazing story that I'll tell you some other time. But there were, I don't know, probably 20, 30 people, and they're all related to me, and I didn't know anything about them until 3 years ago. Isn't that something? So they're one of my Christmas presents every year. Good morning. And anyhow, I realized, oh yeah, I can't go make soap because I'm going to go be with my family that I don't really know. So no soap class this month. But the calendar is busy. Our Advent calendars are busy with music. They're busy with church. They're busy with food. They're busy with whatever it is that you do during the Advent season. How many people go to the mall a lot? Yay! Good for you. Good. Me either. But it's a busy time nonetheless, isn't it? I mean, it's a time when people want to get together and sing and so on. So where does Advent take us, and how are you feathering your Advent nest? Now, I know that at Christmas time we talk about the manger, we talk about the Christmas story, but I'm kind of a bird person, you know. I mean, I do try to be a Christ person, but I have this little pin that I found somewhere along the line of my life that's a picture of a nest, and that's all it is. And on my computer, when I open up my computer, there's a picture of a nest, because it's a message to me that I should be feathering my nest every day. Because if I don't do that, then how can I be of service in the world? If I'm depleted, if there are no feathers in my nest and it's rough and scratchy, I can't take care of anybody else. Can you relate to that? So this year, my family is living in between. And I know that we are kind of living in between as first world people, but I might have mentioned to you that our house is on the market and to be sold. And a week ago, we were presented with an offer, but that didn't work out. So until the house sells and we find another house, we're living next to my house, the very next house over. I live at 434, we're living in 440. And 440 happens to be the parsonage for the United Methodist Church. And they like me being there because they can maintain their tax status with their house. So we're there, but most of our furniture that we use in our living room and in our dining room is in my house. Because the house has to be staged to sell it, right?
Right.
You can't have it empty. And I have a 19-year-old, and I don't want my 19-year-old to be in that house while we're trying to sell it. Do you know what I'm talking about? So we're living together in the parsonage like indoor camping. We don't. In the living room, we have a coffee table and one chair. In the dining room, we have a folding table and some chairs. It's like indoor camping. So I looked for the Advent wreath, and I just came across that. Haven't found the candles yet. But, you know, where's the Advent wreath? Where are the candles? And the most common answer at our house is, I don't know. I don't know. Where are the spatulas? I don't know. Downstairs in a box somewhere. Where was the star for the top of the Christmas tree?
I don't know.
I don't know. So how do you feather the nest when you can't find the stuff? Can you still do it? Can you still feather the nest of your heart and your soul, even if you don't have stuff? Can you feather your nest when you're not going to the mall? Yes. Yes. I mean, in fact, feathering the nest means you don't have to go to the mall. So anyway, this Advent season is like that. It's a long time ago, there were these people who had a journey in front of them, right? That's how the story goes. They had a journey in front of them and they didn't know. They didn't know what they were going to find. They didn't know who they were going to meet. And yet they got on that little four-legged creature and one of them was pregnant. Made it even more complicated. Mm-hmm. And they didn't know. They didn't know about that baby. They didn't know about where they were going to live. They didn't know where they were going to sleep. I mean, they didn't know where the nearest hospital was. They didn't know where the midwife was. They didn't know anything. Can you relate to that? Just living in a state of I don't know and doing it anyway, taking one step in front of the other. So this morning, though you may have heard this story about this pregnant couple before, we're going to visit that story. You might hear it again during the season. But this morning we have a chance to share the story. Some people are going to read a little bit. We might have some music. We will have some music, of course. So let's begin this story with a young woman. A woman was betrothed to a man whose name was Joseph. And an angel said to her, "Fear not, Mary, for you have found favor with God. You shall conceive in your womb and bring forth a son, and his name shall be called Jesus. You shall be great, he shall be great and called the Son of God." And so we'll hear from Mary.
I represent Mary, the mother of Jesus. I am the love that fills your soul. I am that in you which desires to see only the good come to you and to every being. I am that in you which never wants to hurt others, for I am open and receptive to all that is good and true. I'm the gentlest aspect of love in your heart, yet I'm strong and perfect. Out of my kindness and humility will be born your true self as a child of God.
A decree went forth that everyone should go to their own town to be counted. So Joseph and Mary, who was pregnant, had little means and gathered a few things to make the journey to Bethlehem to be counted. Now it came to pass that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be enrolled, and all went to enroll themselves. Joseph.
I represent Joseph, the husband of Mary. I am the strength and wisdom within you that protects and guides the love in your soul. Sometimes others suggest that I should separate myself from this love, but I cannot do this, for I am only satisfied and complete when I am partnered with love. I will not desert the love in your heart, and I will nourish and support the good that will be birthed from our union.
So imagine how chaotic it was for these young people, young people, to leave what was familiar and to travel miles with just one animal to carry one person. What did they eat along the way? What were they expecting to find? Where was the nearest midwife? Certainly they hoped for safety, for kindness, for shelter. In 2017, there are others who are experiencing an Advent pilgrimage and a time of waiting. And we think of them, we see them, we read about them in our media. They're coming to the United States with a great hope to be among the fortunate ones. They're hoping for food, they're hoping for work, they're hoping for shelter, for safety and kindness. They're hoping for a nest and have very little to carry with them. They're hoping to be welcome in this unfamiliar place. And maybe they're hoping for a better life than what they have experienced. But there are those who will not give them room. And we know this story, don't we? Because we are familiar with our world. There are those who won't give them a room. Sometimes these people are called names. There are authorities whose sole responsibility is to seek out these pilgrims and separate them from each other, and then send them back to the places where they might have come from, places that were unsafe. In the Christmas story, the young couple is desperate for shelter. The young woman is soon to deliver this baby, and finding no room at the inn, they are offered a stable, a manger.
I represent the manger where Jesus was laid. I am evidence of the fact that wherever you put forth the best that is in you, it becomes a holy place. No matter how humble the surroundings or seemingly unimportant the occasion, God dwells within you to bless you. You can always trust God. You need not look only in grand and impressive places for spirit. Think of me each time you are called upon to do your best in a situation that does not seem worthy to you.
The story goes on that the young couple, finding temporary shelter for themselves and for their child, and tired from their journey, are visited by shepherds. There were shepherds in the same country, abiding in the field and keeping watch by night over their flock. Shepherds?
I represent the shepherd of your thoughts. I am those simple, natural tendencies within you which abide in the field of your mind and watch to see that you are comforted and protected. I gently but firmly bring you back into right, harmonious thinking when you are in danger of going astray. I may not be the highest in you, but will always acknowledge and surrender to your highest and best self. I know when you come to the holy realization of who and what you truly are.
Thank you. And an angel stood by them, and the glory of God shone round about them. And the angel told them, "Be not afraid, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people." The angel.
I represent the angel who brings good tidings of great joy. I am the radiant thoughts which come to you directly from the mind of God. Through me, God tells you that you have nothing to fear. Through me, God tells you that you have cause for joy. I tell you of your divine self. I tell you of all the peace and happiness you are going to encounter. I tell you that you are one with all people.
So the story continues that in this stable, this place where animals live and eat and sleep, shepherds keep watch, angels reassure, and wise ones bring their contribution to this humble family.
I represent the wise ones. I am the hidden powers buried deep within you. You were born with them as you come in the realization of your true self. I bring your gifts, new discovery. Gold represents richness, frankincense, beauty, and myrrh, your perfection.
The wise ones were led to the stable by a bright star in the east and came to kneel by the baby.
I represent the star that guided the wise ones. I am your intuition. Sometimes I appear as a dim flicker in the sky of your mind, but as you recognize me and follow me, I become brighter and more familiar. God gives me to you as a guiding light for your good.
So gathered now in this small and not so quiet place were the shepherds, the angel, the wise ones, and two new, perhaps frightened parents who were in a foreign land. In the center of their crowdedness, in the midst of this unknown, was an infant who had been named by the angel to be called Jesus.
I represent the Christ child. I am the sum total of all the good which is the real you. I am the love in your heart, the wisdom of your mind, the peace your soul desires. You give me birth out of your own nature, just as God created you from God's self. I am that in you that blesses you and makes you a living child of God. You have thought of me as being separate from you, but you are coming to know that you and I are one.
So every new child born into this world deserves to be safe, wouldn't you agree? Loved, sheltered, fed. And every new mother deserves the same, and every new father deserves the same. We carry within us all the elements of this story, don't we? And we carry the ability to be an Advent pilgrim, to feather our nest with what we need to invite the Spirit in all forms, in its most feminine forms, in its most masculine forms, in its protective forms, in its radiant forms. We have all of that within us. So, you remember the old hymn about the eagle who stirs the nest? Does anybody know that one? It's like one of my favorites. The words are something to the effect that as the eagle stirs her nest so that her young ones will have no rest, God in his own mysterious ways does something to those little eagles. And watch it so they can watch, fight, and pray, so they can go out into the world. I'm thinking about that right now with a 19-year-old in my house, stirring my nest a little bit. Because that's what we do, isn't it? And that's what God does with us, and that's what this story is about. You know, it's about these two people making a nest with what they have, and being inspired by God to make this nest, being told by God to make this nest. And they make this nest, and of course we know that things change over time, don't they? So the nest has to be stirred. Our nests have to be stirred, don't they? We find, you know, it's like, oh, if things could just stay the same, but they don't, darn it. And so God stirs up our nests so that we can change and grow and go out into the world. So this Advent, I imagine that we're making a nest for ourselves, for our Christ self to be reborn and remembered and re-enlivened, if that's the good word. How do we do that for ourselves so that we can be of service? And then, because God does stir up our nest, the feathers part, the nest is taken apart, and then it's time for us to make a nest for the next one, isn't it? For all those people who are coming, all those children, all those families who are coming. I don't know what my role is or yours. I recently, in the fixing up of the nest for sale, my house, I hired a young man who has a couple of children, a family, and he came to do some handyman work in the house. And he told me that he worked at the detention center in Tacoma, which is like one of the largest detention centers in the United States. So if you don't know about that, do you know about the detention center? Yeah, some people. Well, so what happens there is that when people from other countries are caught by authorities and they don't have documentation, that they're not here with paperwork, but they're here because they're seeking safety and asylum, then what happens is they get sent to the detention center. And it may be that there's a mother and a father and a baby or children. And this young man I met just a couple months ago was a corrections officer working in the detention center. So his job, when people first came into the detention center, was to separate families. Can you imagine? And that was how he supported his family, with this job, separating families. And so I asked him, well, what did you do? And he said, well, the last straw was that there was a mom and a child, and that's all they had in the whole world. And they're in another country, another language. They don't know what they're doing. They don't feel safe. They're scared. And he's supposed to send the child to a foster home and send the mother packing somewhere else. She was going to be detained, I guess. What he did, I mean, I wonder what you would have done. I wonder what I would have done if it was my job. What he did is he gave her a voucher to go to a hotel with her child. And of course, he did not last long in that job. But he was an angel, wasn't he? He was an angel. I don't know what happened to that family. But this story that we hear about day in and day out it's like the Christmas story, isn't it? With families who are afraid, with places that are unfamiliar, with languages that are not understood. I don't have the answer to that. But I think we are seeing Advent right in front of us right now. We are seeing it in front of us. And these are our brothers and our sisters and our children. So how is Advent for you? And how do you want to stir your Advent nest? Make your nest, find your comfort, be capable of serving, and then make a nest for the next person, for the next family, for the next infant. So this Advent story is a rich one for me. And you know, we get ready for Advent with lots of activity, and then at my house, when it comes to Christmas morning, we stop all of that. I don't know about you, but having a Christmas, what is Christmas? Is it insane? No, it's quite the opposite. It's a time at our house where we buy the fish to make cioppino that we can't usually do during the year. But we make a big pot of cioppino. You know what that is, like fish stew and cheeses that you look at in the store and you go, nah. But on Christmas we do. We have Christmas cheese, cioppino, and we lay around and just nest, be in our Christmas nest. So I'm inviting you to think about your own Advent, the peace of your heart in Advent, the feathering of your nest for Advent, and how you will make a space for others to find a safe place, to find a nest, and to feel that peace of waiting for the coming of their own divinity. How will you, even if it's your prayer, which is very potent and powerful, isn't it? Even if our prayers are about the world making space for each other, people in the world making space for each other, honoring those babies from other places, honoring those mothers, honoring our family. So let us find time, let us create time to experience the time of waiting, of Advent, this time of pilgrimage. You know, there's one hymn, one song I grew up with, and you probably did too. It's O Come, Emmanuel. And that is the Advent song. You know, there are lots of Christmas songs, but as far as I know, would that be true, that O Come, Emmanuel is the Advent one? So while we don't have the words, we do have the musician, and he knows the song, and you probably know it too. So I'm going to invite you, as we prepare for meditation, to close your eyes, and if you know the words, to sing along with us.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, that mourns in lonely exile here, and till the Son of God appears. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
So I invite you to take a deep breath now and continue to keep your eyes closed. These words are holy words about the coming, the renewing honoring the remembering of our divinity, the rebirth of our child, of our innocence. So notice if there's any place in your body now that needs an extra feather, that needs an extra bit of comfort. And send some love, send some breath, starting at the top of your head all the way down into your shoulders. And down through your trunk and arms and legs. Just send love to you. And know that you are making a place now. In consciousness, you make a place, a nest. For your beauty, for your holiness, for your generosity. You make a place for love. Not only love that you express for others, but love that you receive. That God is Father, God is Mother, is showering you with love right now. And that within you and around you are those characters of protection, of illumination, of wisdom. They are in us, and they surround us as well. So yes, this Advent story is about each one of us. An amazing story of waiting, of pilgrimage, of holiness. Maybe there's someone in your life who needs a star now, who needs a mother now, or a wise one. Imagine that there is a place in your heart, a nest for your friend, a place of kindness and shelter. And so we send to our friends love, gentleness, generosity, and we remember that there are many others whose names we don't even know. In the city of Bremerton, in the state of Washington, in the United States, in the world, all over the world, there are people who are in need of your love, your generosity, your prayers. And so together we hold them in our respective hearts and our nests. We send you love, we send you our hope for your own peace, for your own safe pilgrimage, for your own knowledge of who you are. For you are ours. separation between God and us, and there's no separation between us. And so, sisters, brothers, babies, we send our love in this Advent season. So let's take a moment now to just feel the peace that sometimes eludes us on the journey. With the beauty of the piano, with the sunlight of the morning, with our companionship to each other. We make things happen. So breathe in. A poet long ago wrote, "Everyone has been made for some particular work, and the desire for that work has been placed in every heart. So be a star, a witness, a lifeboat, or a ladder, and walk out of your house like a shepherd. Walk out of your house like a shepherd. So let's conclude with once more, let's sing O Come, Emmanuel together. Thank you.
Put it away.
You did?
Say doing it twice.
Oh, you're so good at doing it. Thank you.
Oh come, Emmanuel, and ransoms captive Israel, and mourns in lonely exile here, until the Son of God appear. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
Amen. Amen.
Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie above thy deep and dreamless sleep. The silent stars go by, yet in thy dark streets shine the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. For Christ is born of Mary. wandering love. Oh, morning stars together proclaim the holy birth, and praises sing to God the King, and peace to men on earth. How silently the wondrous gift is given. So God imparts to human hearts the blessings of His heaven. We hear the Christmas angels the great glad tidings tell. Come to us